Hey, what's up? A lot of hate going on with this camera here, the Fuji X-H2s. The sad thing is, it's coming from within Fuji. The supposed Fuji fanboys are doing the most complaining about this camera. It's really weird because I get some of the points they're trying to make. However, just completely shitting on a camera because it's not the one that you wanted right now. And that's really what's going on is they didn't get their XT5 first. They didn't get their little dials first. And I think that's really what they're complaining about. If the XT5 had dropped first, then this camera, they probably would have ignored it. They probably wouldn't have said much. They'd be like, yeah, that's kind of a cool camera. If you need video, if you like a nice hybrid camera with the grip and all that, it's an awesome camera. Go Fuji, yay! But no, it's unfortunately they are, and it's coming from some of the weirdest places, and some of it I kind of expected, like the angry photographer. I expected him to come out and bash it because Fuji's not really dealing with him anymore, and he did the exact same thing with Nikon. And I'll get into this in a video by itself because this video here, I guess I should have explained that to begin with. I guess I should have brushed my hair. At least I still have hair. I guess I'm happy for that. But I'll get into it in another video about the old angry guy. He's really upset, and I'll give you my theory as to why I believe that's so. I don't think it's the camera per se. So anyway, the X-H2s, I got this, I don't know, probably 3 weeks ago, almost a month ago. And I just pounced on it. I just happened to luck out. I wasn't even planning on buying the camera. I'll be honest with you. I really wasn't planning on buying the camera. I just purchased an A9, a used A9, really, really good condition, and got it from MPB, I believe. Yeah, I got it from MPB. I traded in my A7C and a lens, and then I ended up picking up this camera because even though it's a 5-year-old camera, 5 years old this year, 5 years old. I can't believe it's been out that long, and it's still a fantastic camera. But I just picked this up, and I wanted to get into motorsports or sports in general, to be quite honest. And I wanted a camera that was capable of doing that. All cameras are capable to an extent, to a certain point. But the A9 was a special camera from Sony. It's back in the day, when Sony was innovating, they're not really innovating as much anymore as they were back then when they hit the A9, the A9 II, the A7 III. Those were very important cameras for the time because the A9 was the first mirrorless camera to really go after the flagships from Nikon and Canon. I figured I didn't want to go in. I had a few Sony lenses already. And I just didn't see the point in going and buying a 1DX2 or 3 or a D5 or D6 and then have to buy all new lenses, to shoot sports, because I had a couple that I could use for short distance things. I don't have the big long lenses yet, but I figured I'd get an A9, try it, see what happens. And I fell in love with it. I loved it. I actually ended up going to the local dragway here in Amarillo, and took a few pictures, spent about 3 hours taking some photos. And then they asked me to be the track photographer, if I wanted to be the track photographer. And I've been shooting there for a couple of months. I'm probably going to lay off for a while, but for other reasons. But, it's a non-paid gig and all that. But I love doing it. I love shooting the motorsports. And this camera, the X-H2s, came available at Adorama. They had it in stock. I just checked for fun. I really did. It was after I got off of work. I worked nights. I got off in the morning. I just jumped on Adorama real quick to see if it was there. And it was there, and I pounced on it. And I feel stupid for doing it because of spending the money, not because of the camera, just for spending the money. So I got this camera. I had really high expectations because I had seen a few of the preview videos, and the autofocus definitely looked better than the XT4 for sure. I had the XT4 last year and had it for almost a year, and I couldn't, the grip Even with the, I had the battery grip with it. Even with that, it just didn't feel right in my hand, and the autofocus just wasn't there. It just wasn't there for what I wanted to get into. I did try shooting at a dirt track with it, and it was okay, but it just wasn't there. It the photos were not very good. And part of that was probably me, part of that because I was inexperienced, but the ones that should have been in focus just were not in focus. I mean, they was just slightly soft. They were just a little bit off. You could tell I nailed the focus because the box was green and all that. And even a couple of panning shots were really good. But when they were more static and moving, depending on the angle, it didn't work out right. The X-H2s does a much better job, way better job, I think personally. Now I've updated this thing to the latest firmware 1.02, I believe. It's done pretty well for the most part. There's a few little things, and that's why I'm doing the video today, to show you some of the little quirks that I've run across at the track. I rented a Ninja V so that I could record the EVF because I've been seeing these issues in my viewfinder in the EVF for a couple weeks, and I wanted to be able to relay that to you. I'm a fan of this camera, but I'm not going to ignore things that are wrong. I don't agree with the angry guy and Casey up there in Canada. And, there's another guy, I think there's another guy up there, and there's a couple other people that have come out with just these videos. They don't even have the camera in their hands. And that's what blows me away. They don't even have the camera in their hands, and they're basing their opinion of the camera off of other people who say that are basically just outright lying, or they don't know how to use the camera. They didn't read the manual. One of the two. Or they played with a pre-production and they don't have a production model now. There's just a lot of weird things going on. There's a lot of false information going on. And I just personally, I just think it's ridiculous. But anyway, so in this video, I've got a few clips that I took at the racetrack, and I'm going to show you some of the issues I was having. Now, of course, I'm in subject detection, automobile subject detection. And keep in mind with the X-H2s, when you have subject detection on, eye autofocus is disabled. So, and it's supposed to be face eye autofocus, I believe, is supposed to be disabled. But I ran across a couple of times, I went up into the stands and used the 50 to 140. So I'm zoomed all the way out, or not all the way, but most of the way. And I'm trying to get better panning shots, because what I'm learning with panning is the further away from your subject you are, even if you have a zoom lens and as long as you're further away, you can zoom in on an object and be able to pan better than you would if you were closer to the object. So before, or in a lot of photos, I was standing right next to the track using the Viltrox 13 millimeter 1.4, which is a great lens, by the way. Probably Viltrox's best lens for the Fuji X mount system. But and then with the Sony, I was using a 20 millimeter 1.8. The A9 even struggled. It actually struggles worse closer to the track than the X-H2s did. So I wish I would have done that, but I didn't really have a good mount. I don't have a good mount for this Ninja V. I didn't realize it was that big giant screw, and I forgot what the mount's called. Airy mount, or I don't know I can't remember what it is. I do have it on a handle for a cage, but I don't have my cage yet for the X-H2s. So I had to screw around with it and jerry rig something. And I was kind of scared to hold it that way at the track because I'm afraid it's going to fall off. But, and it just felt like it was putting too much pressure on the hot shoe. I just didn't want to take that chance of breaking something. So what I did was I just kind of laid it in the bag next to me, the Ninja V. I just kind of laid it next to me and was just kind of looking. And then I hit record, do my thing. I had a really long HDMI cable, so I was able to move around without yanking the cable out. And then that's how I did it. I just sit up in the stands. I sit there and just did it. And I wanted to show you guys, the boxes are jumping a little bit. Sometimes they will jump. Now keep in mind, I'm shooting drag racing. If you're just shooting cars or if you're shooting a, I don't know, like a road race or something like that, where you're only going to have 1 or 2 cars coming through at a time, or they're all normal, regular looking cars, you're probably going to be okay. At a drag race, if you have rail cars, the really long cars, it has a problem with those. But on the other side of that, it actually did pretty well with a few of the shots. It actually expanded the box all the way around the rail, which was pretty impressive, if you ask me. And it got the whole car in focus. I was pretty surprised that it did it. Now, most of the time, it did not do that, but there were a few times, and you'll see it in the clips, where it actually did expand that box to include the rail dragsters, even the junior dragsters and the big, the big boys. So there's a lot of clips in here from the junior dragsters because, and another thing too is because it didn't recognize those junior dragsters as cars, it was trying to find another automobile in the scene, and there was a utility vehicle that was sitting back there, and it kept jumping to that utility vehicle. But the other alarming thing was it kept jumping to faces, which was really weird, especially what I don't understand is why it's jumping when I'm holding the button down. I back button autofocus. So when I'm holding that button down, the focus shouldn't move. It should stay locked on where it's green. And you'll see in some of these clips, it does actually jump on occasion, not all the time. And I don't know if it's because the scene is so busy. I have no idea. All I know is it's doing it. It's a little bit alarming, and I'm pretty sure they can fix it. I think it's something that can be fixed in a firmware update, a future firmware update. So I'm not worried. It's good enough for what it is. But I did discover later on that night, and I wish I would have had the Ninja hooked up to show you. I did figure out that in drag racing and panning, panning these really fast cars, I found that turning subject detection off and using zone autofocus actually worked better. So you're basically using the camera like you would an old DSLR. DSLRs had the focus points kind of clustered in the center, if you know what I mean. Some had more than others. It seems like a DSLR would actually work better for drag racing, panning, and all that, because you don't have to worry about the boxes jumping around to other subjects in the frame. It just, when you lock on and you follow the car, as long as you're following and panning with the car, it's going to stay on that car. It's not going anywhere because they're fixed in the center. And you have to move the camera, your body and everything. You got to move the camera along with the pan, along with the car, to get a good panning shot. So I think DSLRs actually have an advantage. And I found out that I believe that's a true statement because, like I said, I turned subject detection off, and actually the shots were getting better as I turned that off and just started using zone. And I used the 3-line. I used the smaller zone box, and I just stuck it on the car. And then as I panned and then did my shots, 30 frames a second, I just, and it got better. It was, I guess it was accurate more often. I did get good shots with the automobile subject detection, but I just seemed to be better at panning with the zone. So let's get into the clips before I make this video way too damn long. Let's see. Clip number 1. What is this? I've never done this before, so bear with me, please. So these are just the regular cars here. I kind of started off, they were towards the end of this run for the regular cars. I wish I could have got more of these in, but they kind of run in shifts where they run the regular cars for a couple rounds. And by the way, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing with this camera. What am I doing? You see down below, my shutter speed's at 80. I'm at F10. That was another thing I noticed that I've got to get better with my technique is I kept bumping the aperture ring. There is a disadvantage to having that aperture ring. So just so you know, I kept bumping it, and it kept affecting my exposure. So you can see the box. Look at the lower left-hand corner. I'm in manual, and I'm in automobile subject detection. You can see it in the lower left-hand corner. You see it locking on. It's picking up the cars and the box will expand. Now that one's covered in smoke. Obviously, he just did a burnout. So it's having a hard time a little bit, recognizing that as honestly, I think it's because it's up against the wall. I think that's because the wall is covering part of the tires. I think that's why it's not picking up that Camaro right there. The white one, it's fine because you can see the wheels and all that. I sit here on purpose because I wanted to have that pole in the way because I was trying to put things in the way. Now, as you see them go, see how the box expand? The box would expand easily with the regular cars. It usually it would expand, but it usually worked pretty good. So for regular cars, for cars that look like cars, it works almost 100%. Almost. It's no camera's perfect, no autofocus is perfect, but for the most part, it works pretty damn good. So I think maybe here's actually that's the sequence that I just took. So let's go back and look again. So as you can see, I mean, it's pretty much nailing it. It missed a couple of times. There's another miss. But for the most part, it's actually catching it in focus as long as when that box is around the car, it's in focus. So even on the panning shots, even with the motion blur in the background, it does work. So let's look at the other clip here or another clip here. See down there, I'm at F9. I bumped my aperture. I did that. I bumped it. So anyway, still at 80 shutter speed. It's recognizing the car just fine. Nope, no problem. And I can't remember if I go over to the other one or not. We'll sit here and watch. I wanted to see how this thing was going to hold on and stick. Now, I should have used different focus modes, but I didn't. I didn't. I messed around a little bit, but I didn't get it recorded. So see it at the very end of that sequence, or at the very end of where the tree is, where the light is, that tells them to go. It was hanging up right there. It was like that tree was tripping them up a little bit. So let's go to, here's another one, part of the same. I love that Corvette, by the way. That is an awesome Corvette. So you see that it picked up the four-wheeler for a split second. And the car is still partially hidden. And I don't know if it's going to hit the box or not. I don't know if the box is going to expand. Apparently not. You can tell the smoke will kind of throw it off for a second, but then, you just let off, hit it again, and see how the box expanded. So the boxes are expanding and doing their job. It's doing its job. As far as that goes, it's really doing its job. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's expanding to encompass. Now, it doesn't expand all the time. Sometimes it just expands on the front of the car or the rear of the car. So here's another round here. Probably my favorite car, this split bumper Camaro. And there I go again. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm drunk. I don't know. But see how it jumped to that guy's head? See, it's jumping to his head. Face detect is off. Head, they shouldn't be doing that. That's one of the things that's bothering me. And you're going to see that more and more during these clips. But the box expands to cover the car sometimes. The pole's in the way. Again, I'm sitting there on purpose because I want to see how it acts. How is it going to react? But the problem is with Fuji, you've got so many different focus modes, you'd almost have to do this in every mode. So we're going to see, again, it's not expanding because the pole's in the way. It's locking on. I'm in tracking, so I am locking on. I'm able to lock onto part of the car. See it jump to that face. Now it jumped to the golf cart. Now it's back to the car. Now the box expanded to include everybody because the car's in the box or the car's there. So it's just sitting there. Pay no attention to my uneven lines. Like I said, I could be drunk. I don't drink, to be honest. I don't drink. So but I'll just say I'm drunk just to have an excuse for the way this looks. Now, see it jump to the golf cart back there, and then I didn't know this, but there's actually, I'll talk about it later. See, it expands just fine. It expands, no problems whatsoever. as far as that goes. As long as the vehicle you're shooting actually looks like a car, you're probably going to be okay. The problem is uh, automobiles that don't look like automobiles. So here's another one. These are that's a smaller car. So you got the Mustang. Now pick that one up. Even though he's against the wall, it picked him up, no problem. And of course, the other car, the white Camaro, is over there behind the pole. Again, I'm doing it on purpose. Then it jumps. I think maybe that's the issue because the car's behind the pole. It's choosing the golf cart because the golf cart is wide open. There's nothing blocking it. So see, that one didn't expand. It expanded for a second, but it didn't expand all the way through the rest of the sequence. It only covered half the car. The photos were still good. Like I said, it doesn't always expand to envelop the entire vehicle. It will get part of it most of the time. So let's see here. What do we got next? So here we got another lot of smoke, from the burnout, and definitely another one of my favorite cars. It's so colorful. That is a beautiful Chevy too, Nova. Beautiful car. If you'd have to see it in person, it is amazing in person. That paint job is incredible. See, it expands just fine, no problems. And it's still tracking it down the way. So now we're going to go into the junior dragsters, and these are smaller vehicles. It does not recognize these as cars. That's kind of an issue. You see it jump back there to the golf cart. Now it's jumping to a head. Now it's jumping to the utility vehicle, one of them Gator, or not Gator. I can't remember the Razor or whatever it is, whatever the hell it is. Now keep it, when you're waving the camera around, when you don't have the bread, it should be picking up vehicles, but it's not. It's because it doesn't recognize these little junior dragsters. These are little small cars. These are lawnmower motors. So seriously, these are little lawnmower engines. Now it's picking up half the car. It was like, hey, this might be a car. And I just gave up trying to see how it expanded. It did expand. So sometimes it'll actually expand on these rail cars, which is kind of cool. I don't know if it's built into the algorithm or not, but I mean, sometimes it does work, let's go to another clip here. Same thing. It's catching, see how it jumped. Now it jumped back to the Razor, and now it's jumping back, and it thinks, well, that's kind of a car. Now it's jumping to her face. It shouldn't even be picking up faces at this point. It actually was picking up the little kid's helmet on there. It's not perfect, y'all. It's not perfect. It's getting the shots, but I think they need to tweak their algorithm. Again, this is an extreme case. Not everybody's out shooting drag races. So, I can already see the haters coming out. See, I told you it didn't work. No, it works better than the A9. I can tell you straight away. Now, I haven't used an A9 too, but I can tell you right now, this thing sticks better than an A9. And I'm getting better. I'm getting more clear, more things in focus with the X-H2s with my limited experience. To keep in mind, I'm inexperienced. I don't have the experience that some of these guys have been out here for 20 years shooting motorsports. I don't have that experience. So I can't, I can't speak for everything. So here's another one here. I'm just showing you these to show you what it's doing, how it's reacting to all these people. You got all these people around. You've got different little vehicles, golf carts and utility vehicles, and you got tractors in the back and people walking around. The people are up here with the parents are up here with the kids. So they're always walking around. You've got the staff in the middle. So again, it's not really recognizing it as a car. He's locked onto the helmet. So he locked onto the helmet, which is good, but I don't have that programmed in there. So it's not supposed to be doing it. And it's jumping back. See it jump back to that face. And right there, it hit, not only did it hit the kid's helmet, but it locked onto the tree, the lights in the middle. It locked onto that, and I had to let go of the button and catch up to the car because it locked onto the tree as I was panning. So it's not perfect, y'all. It's not perfect, but it works damn good. It works really well. Again, this is an extreme case. All of y'all ain't gonna be out doing this stuff. And all of you, most of the time, if you're out shooting, especially a race or something, if you're from the stands or anywhere around the track, you're not gonna be standing behind stuff on purpose to see how your camera's gonna react. I'm doing this on purpose. I'm standing behind objects, I'm shooting through the wall, trying to track the cars behind the wall, and then when they emerge from the tree, to see how it's gonna react. It's not doing fantastic, but it's not doing really bad. It's not warranted to have all this hate towards this camera. And to say that the autofocus is bad is completely ridiculous. It is a false statement. So anyway, see, it is jumping. It jumped to her face, jumped to the utility vehicle. Now back, and keep in mind, I'm holding the button this whole time. But you see, the square's green, so it's wanting me to take her photo. I don't know. Maybe she's special. I don't know. But then it jumps to the other one. Now it's jumping to the guy in the middle. And I'm getting frustrated about it. That's why you keep seeing the camera jerk. And then right there, not only did I get the near dragster, I got the kid's helmet, but then I immediately switched over to the other one and the box expanded immediately to capture the whole car. And it worked out really well. It was, it was a nice 2-shot combo. I like the combo shots because, that's if you almost have to do that. And here's the sequence. I'll show you the sequence here. For the most part, see where it says detected face? Why? Why did it detect the face? It's not supposed to be detecting faces. But you can see the icon up here in the top left-hand corner. And I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't understand. But look at the helmet. The helmet is clear. The helmet is in perfect focus. And the background is blurred out, which is what I want. It's the whole point of a panning shot. But I don't know. Again, it's working for the most part. It's just got some little quirks like jumping to this guy's head, back to his head, back to the utility car. I'm getting frustrated. I'm pulling the camera down. I want to throw it. To be quite honest, I was kind of pissed off. And this is why I didn't film anymore. Because I was getting so frustrated. I was getting so angry. Not to mention my battery was draining like crazy. This thing, when you have a Ninja 5 hooked up to it, it sucks the battery like there's no tomorrow. So, actually, I guess that was a short clip. So, let's go to the next clip. So here we are. He's jumping. It's jumping across. This car's even in the near lane. And that was a pretty good sequence, but it locked onto the helmet at the very end. One of the things, too, that I'm not really a big fan of, when you shoot a burst, that last image hangs for a second. That's a little bit annoying to me. I don't like that. It irritates me. I don't know why it irritates me, but it irritates me. Now, this one's just going to expand right off the bat. Look at that. It just expands right off the bat. Maybe it has something to do with the windshield. It looks more like a car, but we're still jumping over here to the head, jumping the utility vehicle. And is it going to do any more? I just keep jerking the camera. That's why I keep jerking the camera around, because I'm like, I just want to get the box off the person, because I didn't know how to do that at the time. I've learned since that there's a way to do that. See, it expanded for the rail dragster. It's cool when it does it. When I saw that, man, I was happy. I was like, there's no way the Sony doesn't do that at all. The A9 doesn't do that. It doesn't have that feature. So, when you have a Sony, when you're using the A9, you just got to put the tracking square. It's small, which to me is weird. It's because it seems like, depending on your aperture, even in f8, f9, f10, and I think f11 is the highest you can go and still be able to use tracking. But you have too small of a concentrated. It's like it's too concentrated. It doesn't expand like the X-H2s does. And I'm sure other cameras that offer the automobile thing probably does the same thing. I prefer the X-H2s. It expands and develops the car. There it is. Now it's getting everything. It sees that, oh, that is a car. And then it, of course, goes back to the utility vehicle. And there's me getting frustrated again. Adjusting my shutter speed a little bit, because I was playing around with shutter speeds the lower the shutter speed, the faster the background blur looks. So I'm just messing around. I never shot in the stands before. So I hate the wall being in the photos. I really do. I hate it with a passion. But the only way to get really, really good panning shots or get panning shots to hit all the time is usually to be closer so you don't have that wall in there. But it's still not really expanding on this kid. It did for a second, and then there it goes again. It expands right at the very end. But if you notice the car is further past me, I'd rather it do it right in front of me. That's where I'd really like for it to happen because that's where I need the shots. That's where I need the clear, uh, some of the car in focus or most of the car in focus. That's where I want it. Let's go to another clip here. We're almost done. Don't worry. We're almost done. You guys are getting bored, but it's basically the same thing over and over. But I just want you guys to see this that while being a fan of this camera and defending its honor in a lot of comment sections this week, I still know that there's things to be worked on. I still know it. So I'm not going to sit here and say this camera's perfect in any way. So I'm showing you right now that it's not. It's not perfect, but it's damn good. I'm getting really good shots. I basically, yeah, that one expanded really quick. But basically, what I'm doing is I'm letting off the back button focus when I see that it's going to lose it. I'll let off until they get past the tree, and then I'll reacquire. And then that's a lot of times when I do that, that's when that box expands the most, I guess you could say. That's when it usually just kind of goes beep, takes in the whole car. But let's do one more of the junior dragsters. And then I have a very, very short clip of the big boys, the big dragsters. So this is another small one. Again, it is weird how it doesn't jump all the time. Like, the scenes don't change that much. The same people basically are in the scenes. The vehicles haven't moved. The golf carts are still there. And it's hanging on now. Now it's hanging on as I'm holding back button autofocus. By the way, if you wonder what he's doing when you see the cars jerk like that, they're inching towards the line. They're trying to get up to that timeline, and they have to be on it for the tree to light up. See, it lashed onto his helmet, which, again, is actually a good thing when you're shooting some of these. You want to kind of get the helmet, especially if you're in front of them. You get their face in there, too. It's really, really cool. Really, really cool shots. So let's move on. The last one I've got here is of these are the big boys. It expands, I believe, if I remember correctly. But yeah, locked on, stayed locked on. But expanded for a second. But I don't think I let off and reacquired. I think I was trying to hold it through the entire wall past the tree, and it jumped to the front tire and didn't do that well. So we're going to go back to, we'll do one more of the big boys. Actually, this is a big girl. I don't mean a big girl. I mean, she's a adult girl in an adult dragster. Oh, you guys are going to crucify me in the comments. But see, it has no problem with the other car, and it's expanding fine. Look how it expands. Of course, when they do burnouts, they go past the tree and then they back up. So no, they didn't break down. And then, of course, it's trying to pick up the trucks in the back, and any vehicle, when that's the issue too. If you have a lot of vehicles in the shot, it's going to bounce around, and what you're going to have to do is control that. And from what I haven't tried it yet, but I learned this off of another video. I think it's Granddad's Reviews or something like that. If you toggle the joystick, you can toggle through all the choices. I never tried that. That's what I wished I would have known while I was shooting. But now I know, so I can actually adjust to it. So now you got a regular car against a rail dragster. These races always look weird just because they don't look like they should be racing each other, but they're very comparable in speed sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Now it's logging on, trying to get the guy's face in the background, and it's it's not really recognizing either car right now. So I'm just waiting for the race to go. I'm waiting for them to go green. And if I probably could have nailed him, but it didn't expand on the rail. It would have expanded on the car, on the Chevelle. I think that was a Chevelle. It would have expanded just fine on that car. It tried to for a split second. Ooh, we got another one here. We've got, yeah, it's jumping all over the place now. It's recognizing everything. That's a car for sure, or a pickup truck. And let's see. Yep, it's locking on, no problem with the Monte Carlo. So no issues there. Not really jumping around because these are regular vehicles. You know, these are regular cars, car-shaped cars. whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why. Okay, now we're going. Now we're easing up to the line. We're about to go green. Yeah, it's expanding nicely. The box is just expanding. I'm getting the whole shot. The whole vehicle's in focus. And now it's jumping to the guy in the background for some weird reason. That was a good shot. That was a really, really good shot because I like shooting through the vehicle, the closer vehicle to the vehicle in the far lane. That was actually, I love those shots. And the focus is sticking enough for me to be able to do that. I got lucky with the A9 a couple times, but for the most part, it's way easier with the X-H2s. So there you have it. There's my little excursion, or what little video I took at the racetrack last weekend. Take of it what you will. Does Fuji have some work to do? Yes, absolutely, 100%. It is not perfect, for sure. If you're a wildlife shooter, I suggest going over and watching Mike Riley. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description to his YouTube channel. He does wildlife. He bought the X-H2s. He's another one that's very objective. And he points out too, hey, it needs some work, but it's way better than the XT4, or at least better enough to spend the extra money. Image quality, now keep in mind, image quality is going to be about the same. The good thing is, what people should be excited about is the fact that image quality is at least the same, if not a hair better, being a stack sensor. Because normally stack sensors don't have as good a quality as the single sensor of the same megapixel, of the same sensor. So in other words, the A7 III had better image quality than the A9. Even though they both had 24.1 megapixel sensors, the A9 is double stacked. The A7 III was not. The A7 III, a little bit better. I don't know why. I have no idea. All I know is for this thing to keep the same or have a little bit better image quality, being a stacked sensor is a huge plus. And the fact that all these Fuji fanboys that are crying about their dials and crying about their ISOs and crying about this and crying about that, you know, for them to completely ignore that. And that's only one thing that they're ignoring. They're ignoring so much about this camera. It's so irritating and it's mind numbing. It's just, I gotta stop. I gotta stop before I say too much. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe for more videos on the X-H2s, if I can say it. I do plan on, I have a photo shoot this weekend. I'm going to try to take some footage there so that I can show you how well the eye autofocus works, despite what Mr. Angry had to say, because he is a complete liar, or he doesn't know how to use a camera. Because I did a photo shoot the day after I did the recordings for the races, and I took 394 images. 3 of those images weren't tack sharp. One of those was just a missed focus. 2 of them were a little bit soft. The reason those 3 missed is because idiot here forgot to turn on eye autofocus. Yeah, I was still using the focus from the racetrack and I forgot to switch. So I was literally on I was on zone with I think I still had automobile detect on. I think I'd went back to that to try something out. And I was still, there was a box popping in on her face. So the box was hanging on her face the whole time. And all those photos were tack sharp on the eyes. They were tack sharp. Then I was like, after about 80 shots, I'm like, wait a minute. why isn't the autofocus working? And I figured it. So I went in and changed it. The problem is the menu selection I had in my Q menu was just for face eye auto detect. It wasn't for actual eye auto detect auto to be working. So even then, the next 100 images I took were, yes, face detect, but they weren't eye auto. So the eye box wasn't popping up. So then I turned it on finally, and the rest of the photos were tack sharp the rest of the way. But again, even with me being an idiot, screwing up, 391 photos out of 394 tack sharp on the eyes. Need I say more? Do I need to say more? I mean, seriously. And to get on a video and say that the eye auto tech is bad is a lie. You are a liar. You're lying through your teeth if you say that. You are an absolute liar. So I'm calling you a liar. I don't care what anybody says. But anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry, I keep getting off on these rants because it just makes me mad that people are lying about this camera. But we'll do more videos about that in the future. Subscribe or whatever, or like it. I appreciate it. Dislike it. I don't care. It's however you feel. Do what you got to do. Comment below. If you got anything you want me to try out while I still got the Ninja V. Unfortunately, I probably won't even post this video. I'll have it sent back by then. But, you know, that's the way it is. Maybe I'll get another one someday. But anyway, thanks. Go check out Mike Riley for your wildlife needs. And there'll be a couple more later on that I want to, because there was another guy. I don't want to call him a kid. He's young. He's way younger than me. But he did a vlog test, which basically what he was doing pretty much wipes out what the other vlogger up in Canada was complaining about, you know. So I'm sorry, but these people are not being truthful. They're just not being truthful. And the bad part is not enough people are coming out that know the truth, that are doing videos, and I don't get it. I'm going to try to do my best to help, but I can tell you right now, there's some lying people out there. Lie, lie, lie.